Hey guys, we are with another Visionary Male Leaders Live. And I'm Dimitri Wakuf, leadership coach and one of the authors in the book. I'm here again with Sarah Bellorini, the heart and the leader of the project, and one of my co-authors, Jaime Galviz. And we are gonna talk today again about leadership, but more specifically, we are gonna talk about tough love, which is the chapter of Jaime. And like every time, I'm gonna ask now Sarah to share with us what was the reason to invite this amazing Colombian in the book.
Thank you, Dimi, and hi everybody, and thank you so much, Jaime, for joining us today. So Jaime and I have known each other for about 7 years, and I've witnessed him be really embody, I guess, what this whole book is about. Excuse me. And for me, being a visionary leader, it's somebody who is an integrated human being and is an integrated leader on the inside and the outside, and somebody who's also passionate about creating sustainable impact and change in the world. And Jaime works for a truly global corporate, Microsoft. He's worked across 90 different countries. He's been in places like the Middle East and across Europe. He's now back in Colombia, in his home country. And he's super passionate about bringing together technology and people. And for me, he's led massive teams of joint kind of organizations of up to 2,000 people, and personally led teams of 200 people. So he's really, really in the environment that I believe that we most need to have more visionary male leaders. So yeah, with that, and thanks, Jaime, for muting yourself, because we do have a bit of an echo going on. So yeah, back to you, Dimi.
Yes, the important part here is to realize that every one of the authors is so unique and at the same time the same. And the great thing about this is that we are going towards love. All of us will go towards love, but we're going a different way. So first of all, I want to ask you, Jaime, what was the main reason for you to get part of the book, to decide to be part of this project?
Well, the first, I do believe in that if you want to help everybody, which is my core value, something I discovered at very early age, you have to be inclusive. Because if you want to help everybody, the only way is you have to consciously be inclusive. And that's not easy. One thing is to be diverse, another thing is to be inclusive. But I was lucky to born in an environment that was so inclusive. I'm the only son with 3 sisters, and I grew up in a family of 2 religions. So for me, everything was inclusive from the beginning, but I didn't know that. I realized later when I started to understand the work around me. And for me, I always appreciate too much the value that the differences between people brings together, working with different and very diverse teams around the world. When I had the opportunity to work, as Sarah mentioned, in Middle East, with people from Palestine, being managers of people from Israel, or people from Egypt, being managers of people from South Africa, and a whole diverse environment. And I saw that there was no different. There was a lot of commonality, but when we were so diverse with different thinking of way of doing it, we were more stronger. And for me, that message is extremely positive in a working environment, because if you want to help the world, you have to be represent what the world it is. And in today's world, we have to represent it. So for me, every person has to represent the best of the world in order to try to drive an impact into the world. And that's why when Sarah asked me, I said, "Oh yeah, I'm so in it, and I have so many female managers that I said I'm in it because I have learned so much from them."
I'm gonna navigate the mics, guys, just to know because of the echo. So to be sure that everyone of us hear what you want to say. So the idea here is I totally get what you say, and that's why now it's a great time to go towards actually who you actually are, because Sarah said several things about you, but we want to know more about you, man. What led you to this place in life, and yeah, just a little bit of your story and who you are.
Start by one of the proudest things, which I am a Colombian. And Colombia is a very diverse country. Actually, you have more women than men in Colombia. That has been historically. And women has always driven part of the reality of who we are as a country in terms of the difficulties that we have navigated, because you need those resilience. And always the figure of a strong mother in the home has been traditionally part of Colombia when they go and do many jobs beyond. As I said, I was born in I was lucky to work with three sisters. One eldest, who was the one who introduced me into IT, and I will share that later. And the youngest, which are twins, that came after me. And I was very touched by my mom when I was growing up, because my mom at that time frame, she used to be a very advanced person from a professional standpoint to what used to be, we're talking about 40 years ago, as she was a working mom with the same responsibilities of my father, and she was running her company with my father. They were running the same company, and you didn't have those stereotypes of mom should be this, dad should be that. They were doing a little bit mix of things. So for me, that was a blessing when I grew up. But one of the things that really defines me is when I met my wife, because it helped me to find more inside myself. And I think that was an important moment in my life when I started realizing and question a little bit more things that I used to question, stop looking outside, start looking inside, and understand what was core values to me, understand them. And that's what I discovered, that helping others was something extremely core to me. And then I decide to make a life plan. So you're gonna hear a lot of planning, because I love to plan, but not to plan what's gonna happen, is to plan what I want to do and what I don't want to regret of. And with my wife, we share this value of helping others. And then I started structuring a life plan about what do I want to do, and then talking to my wife how she want to complement me and how I want to complement her in the things that really matters, not in the success framework that we have in our world, but in the happiness of who we are to live a life fully fulfilled every day. And then in part of that plan, we say, hey, we want to grow our family in a very diverse environment, and that is not American. And I'm saying this not because I have something against US, because I love US, and US is very diverse, but because as Latin American, you have a lot of influence. So we want to give to our kids that worldwide flavor. So we say, okay, let's grow it up in another place where they can get this multicultural environment. And then I was lucky through the work. I have only worked in two companies, which is, as I understand, is kind of unusual today. And I've been working more than 24 in the same one, which is in Microsoft. And one of the reasons is because I really engage with the mission and the purpose of being of the company, which is helping everybody and every company in the world to achieve more. So it connects with my core value, and it gives me the space to do that. And then based on the work, we start evaluating options from Europe, from Asia Pacific, and then it came a person who I met at some moment who said, somebody asked me to help him. I said, yeah, of course. When somebody asked me to help someone, I just immediately jumped, as nature. And after a strong conversation about how to guide him in what are the type of person he should get for a role, he said, what are your plans? I shared with him that are more family and personal plans. Then he said, why do you come to Dubai? I think you can fulfill that in Dubai. And I was looking at him with that, I was going to say, unconscious bias that you have of the Middle East. And you said, do you really think I'm going to take my wife, who's very Catholic, to a place when it's very Muslim and women has to be covered and all the stuff? Very, very naive from my side, right? But as always in life, we said, okay, let me talk to my wife. I'm not gonna say no. I'm always open to understand and to listen. And then when I came back to my wife, we just decided to call some friends that we knew lived there, but we never talked to them. And what we heard, it was kind of what we were looking. I said, like, is that true? I said, okay, you never know. You're not gonna make a life decision like that. So I called back to what happened to be my boss later, and I said to him, listen, I'm okay to go and explore, but the one who's going to make the decision is my wife, not me. So I have to go with her. And then she said, of course, let's come with her. Then we did it, and then after a few days, she said, yes, this is a place, because Dubai is a place where there is 204 nationalities between 3.5 million people. So, and locals are only 9%. So you have kind of a hub that is today one of the most diverse countries in the world because of the population and the nature of history, culture that comes together. So we really moved there, and we grew our kids, and was super happy. At what moment, I remember I was talking when I met Dimi like 7 years ago, and I was explaining to him that I was a little bit concerned because Dubai is very secure and very protective, and our world is not like that. So I was very concerned that they were growing up like that, but they didn't have exposure to the real world. So how they weren't going to be able to defend themselves. So at that moment came the opportunity to also come back to Colombia and bring all those learnings that we have in entire Middle East and Africa. And that's how we decided to come back and to do the same things that I was able to do in Dubai for that incredible region that is Africa and Middle East, and bring those experiences to help my country, I think, in the most challenging but most opportunistic time in life, in our life, as I'm seeing it, where everything that we will do define the next 80 years. So it's a massive opportunity, and I'm super happy to be here.
So, guys, I suggest one new thing. I was thinking after when we were talking that when someone stops talking, just to mute themselves and the other person to unmute to start talking, because in this way it will be a better flow in the conversation. So let's do it like this. You can do that for yourself, right? Just to check it.
Yes.
I think, yeah. Perfect.
I think it's Jaime that's got the feedback. So
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's
but
the technology guy that's got the problem.
Yeah. But technology, that's technology, Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to, it's interesting, Jaime, to hear you talk so much about your family, which is so interesting. And yeah, it's those values, I guess, that you have that were really, you grew up with such a diverse family situation with these two different religions. And then, yeah, you took your very Catholic wife into a very Muslim environment. So you've had these kind of extremes, I guess, that you've in your personal life and your professional life. And yeah, I mean, I know the answer to this question, though, just for the people that are watching us, if we're going to help the people that are reading your chapter, and listening to this interview, this conversation that we're having, like, what's a couple of things that you can maybe share with them that would help them to know how to be more of an integrated leader, how they can, bring this kind of their personal values more into the workplace? Because this is what we're really, really speaking about, isn't it? Is becoming integrated humans. And so often we think, I've got to put a mask on to go to work. I've got to be this different person that I am. And just to sort of add also that one of the reasons for this book, right from the get-go, was the fact that there is a lot of toxic masculinity in the world, and specifically in the workplace. And it's not gender specific. Women have toxic masculine behavior. Men have toxic masculine behavior. Women and men both struggle with this. And it's almost like we feel that we have to put on the mask and adopt this behavior and abandon our true selves. And what I hear in your story so much is that you didn't do that. And you've led massive teams, you know, hundreds and thousands of people. And so, yeah, just to repeat the question for clarity, how is that personal experience of yours, how has it come into your leadership in the business arena?
Well, that's an important question, and as I share, I think I was lucky to born in the setup that I was born, because for me that was the de facto, the normality. When I questioned things and I saw people questioning, for me was, no, this is okay to be like that, to be fully inclusive, and to see women as powerful as men with the same responsibility and the same capability, because that's the way I was raised in my home. But to answer your question, I said one of the biggest learnings that I have from one of my mentors in the company, which is another Colombian, was at some moment he shared with me and said, Jaime, be careful of work and the framework of success, and follow more what really matters from a personal standpoint. Be careful of that trade-off. And that led me to understand myself and go inside, which is something that is extremely important. And as I said at very early stage, that's a process that I did with my wife, write my values. I make mistakes like everybody, which I regret. And at some moment I said, I don't want to make more of those mistakes. I want to make sure that I try my best to be in a place that I don't regret. And then I started looking those leaders who were successful around the world, from sports, from business, from entertainment, from religion. I said, why when they get to the place that they want to be, sometimes everything's broke and became a disaster, and they fall and they achieve the highest role they dream, and then everything goes and fall apart. And the answer, after listening to too many of them and hearing some of them got sick, some of them got in trouble, some of them did the wrong things, it was what you just said. They never came through to themselves with their values. First point. Second point, they didn't check if their values was aligned with the company or what they were doing for work. And they were trading off that because they wanted to be successful, but they never planned to be happy. So the third thing that came is, what does it mean to be happy? And I do feel that our society is framed to be successful. You have to go to study, then you do the right grades, then you get into the university, pick up your career, do your best, and find the right job in the right company. Once you find the right job company, you have to grow up in your career, maybe create your company, maybe grow up in your career, but then get married, have a partner, or get a family, have kids, secure your pension and retirement, and you should be happy because you are successful. That's very few people who kind of achieve, but everything is built up to do that. But I say, hey, how about finding who you are, understanding what makes you happy, what fulfills you, understanding how to make a decision who you're going to live with, which is that we only make a decision in one person in life, your partner, your husband, your wife, making a conscious decision about that and having a thoughtful process, how you do that. Then one of the most challenging, how you become a parent, a father, a mother, how you do it right, and not by mistakes with the first one, and then you try to fix it with the second, and then the third, but how you do that. And then last but not least, how you face death of your loved ones and of yourself. That's going to happen. Those, for me, are the most important things in life. And we never thought about it because we decide to work and get into this framework of success. So I say, hey, when you bring those together, you find yourself, you understand your values, then you say, I'm going to live a life that fulfills, and work is going to be a variable. So this company or this work that I'm doing in my own company will fulfill that, yes or no? And if the question is yes, then go forward, but never trade off that from your side. and those will be my recommendations based on my learnings, based on the learnings that I have seen from others, and based on the current world that is very crazy as we live in a very VUCA environment. But that will be the answers that I will give based on your question, Sarah.
Yeah, that are great answers, Jaime, and very fast in muting yourself. I like you did it really well, man. So actually, talk to us a little bit about your chapter, and because you started talking about your story, which is part of the chapter, but the main idea of the chapter, tough love, I think it's a very interesting concept for people, and not a lot of people understand exactly what is that. Because when I hear love, they think about the fluffy love, everything is good, you should be good and beautiful and stuff. And when you say the word tough and love in one place, it's a little bit complex for people. So you very beautifully talk about this in your chapter. So let us know the message of your chapter, tough love.
Thank you. I learned how to mute and unmute. I can learn fast. So Dimi, that came through. I think the title was the last part that came, but I think it came beautiful in the same two words because it goes together. Sometimes we think it goes once against the other. No, it can go together. And actually, Simon, in one of the early chapters, also mentioned tough love of some of the way to bring it to be accountable, not only to love with others, but with yourself, and give that to yourself. So I think it's something that is there, but it comes to me more as a father. And I always use for business the personal and the home analogies, because for you as a father, it's not about you. It's not about you succeeding or being a successful person. Is really you want your kids to succeed. And there are moments when you don't doubt, you need to give that tough love, because if you don't give it to them, they're going to have trouble, that they're not going to allow them to be happy in their life. And you as a father doesn't blink, you just do it, right? Sometimes, personality is a little bit different, but for you it's more natural to say, I need to help my son or my daughter and correct it, and I need to have this tough conversation, and I need to ground it, or I need to stop it, because has done something. We don't doubt because we know we're doing well for them. But when it comes to work, somehow it became more about us, less about our people, our team, our peers, and a little bit in that insecurity or in that desire to be successful, to be like. Sometimes we said, you know what, I better don't give that message or share that with that person, because two things: maybe that person will not take it in the right way, or will hurt more to that person at this moment, or he will not like me, or she will not like me because she will not receive it in the right way. So you know what, let me just go around. And I think that's a mistake. But of course, to make it happen, there is a way to make it happen. You cannot just do it like that, because you can get, of course, the opposite result if you try to do that. And part of the story in the chapter goes against how I got that from my mother, but I never understood until the seed was planted and it grew up. And then I took the place of my mother as being a father, and then I realized and said, oh my God, all of these things that I have are thanks to that tough love that my mom gave to me, and now I have to give it to my son or my daughter. And I found myself doing that. And that moment, I really was kind of in peace with my mom. I said, thanks, because your tough love is what takes me here. And that came also a realization later when I have a manager that did it in an impressive way. And I learned so much from her about how to do it. Because at that moment, as I'm a person who loves to help, and I have a personality that when chaos and conflict came, I always go to help, settle down, move it down. And I constantly avoid friction because I don't like it. In my mindset, my unconscious bias or my limiting belief was always that friction is detrimental because it takes energy down. And sometimes you need to manage friction, but it has to be in a constructive way. But for me, the decision was, let me avoid friction. So every time friction happens, I jump up. And you can imagine in an Arab world, friction happens a lot because the people are very emotional and they express themselves. And by nature, people from Middle East are traders. So they go and they argue and they challenge. And I was like, no, come on, let's put it out. Let's take it down. Okay, let's find a way. And I always was the person who did that in the middle. And my job, which was the CEO of all that big team, was to bring people together. So for me, the best way to do it was by being the nice go-to person. So I always try to avoid that friction and manage the friction around, but not to face it, to embrace it, or sometimes to even ignite it. And my manager said to me, I said, you know what? Sometimes you need to. You cannot just go around. You can avoid things. You're not going to fix things that unless you go and have the tough conversations and embrace that, it's not going to work. Stop being just only the nice person and do that part. And that's easy to say, but the point is the way she said, it really resonated me and did the magic. Because sometimes we have a saying in Latin America, and I'm trying to translate it. It's not that you tell me that I am a dog. It's the doggy way you say it to me. And that goes to that way because she framed it in a way, she said, you know what? She took a lot of time to write in part of our performance review, the way we call it, to measure our impact on how much you're driving impact based on your responsibility, how much you're driving impact by helping others, which is part of the things that I love from Microsoft, but also by leveraging the help of others. And that makes sure that you are more integral in the way you're doing it as one team, leveraging others' people, skills and assets, but also helping others. And that's part of the core of the value of this company that I really loved. And in that review, she just reflected about how I was missing opportunities to drive more impact, but not embracing the friction. But she invested 3-4 hours writing to make sure it was clear and it was said in the right thing and I didn't get it in the wrong way. And then she took time and said, I really want to help you. I like this. Let me frame it. But here are opportunities. And I want you to do it because you're missing those opportunities. And guess what? I'm also going to support you and I'm going to be there and you're going to make mistakes. And I'm going to show you at some moments how to do it in my own style. I'm not expecting you to copy my style, but I'm going to show you. And she role modeled that to me, but with lots of empathy. And then she supported me to the process. And as I was doing it, she was celebrating it. And she said, good job, we made progress here. She was pending, like a mother. I'm there. And then when it came through the process that, okay, I didn't get to 100% because this is a growing process. Still, I have opportunities to do it better in that angle. But when I get to do it and I face and I feel a little bit more comfortable because it was super uncomfortable at the beginning, she really came to compliment me. The way she saw me, the impact that I was generating, she really acknowledged and she took the time to do the same thing. And that way of doing it is just changed my mind. I said, okay, you know what? And I came back to my mother's story. I said, I never asked my mother why she did that. And then when I was facing a situation with my son, I said, you know what? I'm going to apply the same thing. So as a father, let me frame it. Listen, I'm not going to do this, or I'm going to do that because of this. Of course, he's at an age he can understand because when we're very young, they will not. But I frame it to him because I always crash with my son in the way I give it the feedback and said, I'm doing this because of that, because I don't want this to happen to you. And I want you to learn to do it this way. But you know what? Here am I all the time. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter how many mistakes. I'm always here to support you, and I will support you to this process because of that love that I have for you. But but I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to do that in this way. And then I'm support him. And then the way he reacted, it just blew me and said, you know what? This is one of the biggest life lessons that I learned of how to give tough love, because it's very needed. It changed me. It helped me to grow professional and personal, because she was brave enough, but she did it in the right way. And that's what I decided to share that story, because for me, it was an incredible growing journey.
Absolutely, Jaime. Thank you so much. Like, there's just so much richness in what you're sharing, and I love that you share with people like how they can do this, because that's the important part, isn't it? Like, this book is so that people can actually go out and change their leadership, and they understand how to integrate what we're calling traditional masculine and feminine leadership traits. And as we've said before, like, they're not gender specific. And what a blessing to have had so many strong women in your life. And, you know, that particular female leader, like, she was totally visionary, wasn't she? She was brave. She was vulnerable. She knew her values. She knew who she was. And what a legacy that woman is going to be leaving. And as a result, you get to leave that, and your son and your daughter also get to benefit from that. So it's so beautiful. And that's that real kind of like transformational change and sustainable impact that we can make in the world when we go through this journey. And as you said, it doesn't happen overnight. You know, it's a journey that we all consciously embark on. And really, Visionary Male Leaders is an invitation for all leaders to embark on that journey. And specifically, you know, this is specifically for men, but as we've heard from this conversation, it's men and women. It's the human journey. Yeah. So thank you so much, Jaime, for sharing all of that. Yeah.
Thank you to both of you guys, because I think, Jaime, that what you shared with people, all the visionary leaders have to listen to that again and just go with that, because this is a concept which every one of us, doesn't matter if it's in business or in family, you need to learn it in order to, you know, practice it and grow other leaders with that. So you're growing your children as leaders, you're growing your employees as leaders. And that's the goal, right? Everyone can be their own leader, but then, of course, it's important for them to have someone like a mentor, like their leader, to do that for them. So you were that for your family and your children and your employees. I can say that, Sarah, thank you also for sharing your position on that, because every time you're just enriching the conversation with your great colorful way of showing and just adding on all of this. That makes these conversations really great, guys. Thank you again for being here with us. So one last question. It's not a question, actually. It's just before we go, Jaime, can you share a message with all the visionary leaders out there? You want to really, just for them to get something last from you, which they can just start implementing from tomorrow.
I will abuse from you, and I will share two messages, if that's okay, Dimi. The first one is, every time you have the chance to give tough love to someone, don't miss that opportunity. It's a gift to help others that can change their life. And I have witnessed that in an incredible way, not only professional, but personal. And I have witnessed that, but do it right and practice. But don't miss the opportunity. Don't be selfish on that one. Share that, give that love, and give that gift to others. That will be the first one. Of course, as we share, there is a way to do it in order to get the right impact and effect in people. The second one is, I just said I will quote someone from Bernard Myers about diversity and inclusion, which I think really frames, because sometimes in the corporate world, we confuse both of them. She said, diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. And as managers or leaders, we are responsible for creating an experience on our teams that makes everybody feel valued, respected, and a place where they really belong. And really to drive an inclusive team and create that environment as a manager. Just think about it. If you are not actively including, for sure, you are probably unintentionally excluding. So you has to drive it. This doesn't come naturally. It doesn't happen, and you have to think about it, and you have to plan. There is 3 things I learned about how to in those multi-diverse groups that I had the pleasure to work. 1, find a common ground for everybody, that everybody feel related. 2, make sure you lift up the people, the energy of everybody, by being fair, by checking what is everybody, and making sure we really, really care and drive that empathy, which is the magic word to make that happen. And 3, help to create the clarity, where they have the autonomy and create that certainty, because we live in a book environment that is changing and people need that. With that, you have a formula to start creating a really, really inclusive environment in your organization.
Thank you. Thank you, Jaime.
Thanks
Thank you, Jaime, for your wisdom and the words you shared, your story, your chapter. Thank you, Sarah, again for being great today and giving your input and creating this great environment here. So,
and thank you, Dimi, for hosting us and doing such a magnificent job with this interview and all the interviews that we're doing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jaime.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks everybody for tuning in
with
as well.
all of you. By the way, Sarah, I'm looking for your next book. Thanks for inspiring everybody. Keep doing it.
Thank you. Bless you.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Ciao.